what makes him so devoted, committed towards towards the flag, towards the country. A very different kind of training, a very different kind of morale boosting, a very different kind of commitment goes into making of a Jawan, making of an officer in the defense forces, whether it is to do with the Indian Army, the Indian Navy, or the Indian Air Force. We today, part of the alumni network here, intention is to speak less, intention is to interact more. I would love to interact with you rather than just a monologue, but to set the stage, but to set the basic thing rolling. Allow me to spend some time with you all before we start interacting. So, gentlemen, the Indian Army, the great Indian Army, where did it start? How did it start? What are the basics? What are the rank structure of the Indian Army? Let me just take you through that. So it was formed by East India Company. I'm sure Dr. Sheetal, is my screen visible?
Yeah, your screen is visible, sir. Screen is visible. The presentation is visible.
Oh, wonderful. So, gentlemen, it was formed way back by the East India Company, about 12 lakh active soldiers in the Indian Army. We say we are a defense forces of approximately 14 lakhs. So the balance of 2 lakhs are formed by Air Force and the Navy. So the mission of the Indian Army, very, very specific, very clear. Ensure the national security and the integrity of the country from external aggression and threats. Maintaining peace, security within the country. Gentlemen, you would have been, ladies and gentlemen, I should say, my apologies. You should have been seeing any action in the country. You have the army, whether it is the floods, whether it is the riots, whether it is any possible thing, whether it is tsunami, a man-made calamity, a natural calamity, you see the army performing. Army, by the way, is not trained to be a discipline to the next levels. So, gentlemen, very proudly onto the right-hand side of the screen, if you see this picture, it is depicting a Rajput officer. Very.
Hello. Good evening, sir. I'm so sorry to disturb you, but apparently the presentation is not visible for few people. If you can just check. And all of you, if you can see on the right-hand side, the presentation will be visible. If you just see on the right-hand side, presentation is visible. Just scroll down.
No. Yeah. So you want me to stop sharing and reshare it for?
Yes. Once again, so that if at all there is an issue that can be resolved.
I'll do that. Yeah, I'll do that. So, gentlemen, I'm just resharing, though there is nothing much in the presentation, but yes, I would for sure share it again. I believe the screen is visible. I have again shared the presentation.
Yes, it is. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Great. So very, very clear target, very, very clear motive, very clear mission of the Indian Army. Yes, very different from the different forces, but yes, the Army is very clear on these two aspects. What I was mentioning is you would see Indian Army performing at each and every juncture where the nation has demanded it to be, whether it has been the floods, whether it is to do with any man-made calamity, a natural calamity. Army is there. Army has performed, not now, at all points of time. Going further, gentlemen, generally a lot of people do not identify the ranks, not that to show, not that to reiterate, but yes, generally to display. If you see onto the right of the screen, by the way, these ranks are the ones which the officers wear on their shoulders. At some places, the naval officers and the Air Force officers, they wear on their sleeves. So if you see the green tabs onto top of the screen, you will find the ranks of the rank of the officers of the Indian Army. Number 9 is the commissioning rank. That's the rank on which the officer gets commissioned. We have presently three academies of the Indian Army where the officers are commissioned. One is the Indian Military Academy. We have two officers training academy. One is currently at in Bihar, and the other is in Chennai. So these two academies are the place where the commissioning of the officers happen. First rank being the lieutenant, thereon the captain, the major, which is single Ashoka. A lieutenant colonel is one star and one Ashoka. Colonel, brigadier with three stars and an Ashoka. And then you have the general ranks, the three general ranks of major general, lieutenant general, and general. General is the chief, wherein for the army staff, for the air staff, and for the naval staff. So if you see these ranks, you would be able to place, you would be able to identify the ranks of an officer. From the rank of colonel and above, you also see a collar dog, which the officer wears on the collar, a red colored tab, which is known as a collar dog. Going further, gentlemen, also just sharing the basic structure of the army. Here it's a pyramidal structure. On top is the army headquarters, which is also known as Sena Bhavan. We have different commands. For the sake of security, I am not going to be naming how many commands, which all commands wherein, but yes, there are commands. There are further. It is divided into corps. Further, it is divided into division, battalion oblique regiment, company or battery, platoon, the section strength. So that's a classical structure of the Indian Army in the pyramidal structure. Gentlemen, now going ahead, talking about how, when I joined Army. In fact, a very classical and a very it is a typical of a story of joining the army as a young boy staying in Baroda, brought up in Baroda, uh, going all the way to join army, not matching with the societal norms, not matching with other friends and their aspirations. Yes, very different though. But in the times when the knowledge was not much, when the Google, when the internet, when the television was very limited, rather it wasn't there at all. Certain things were not there. In times of such uh, in such times of life, yes, I remember as a young boy to be very clear to be joining the army. Yes, it did happen. uh, I will in fact also tell you a lot of visits to the bus stand to buy the Rozgar Patrika, a lot of visits to the bookstores to buy the books for NDA, later on for the UPSC. I remember post 12th, a lot of my friends, about 7, 8 of us, after our 12th, we took a bus and we had gone to Ahmedabad to write the NDA exam. I was also one of them. Had prepared, did prepare, never cleared, again appeared, never cleared the NDA entrance. Went on to do my engineering, and there in my third year of my engineering, I appear for the written, I appear for the interview, which is known as a service selection board, and there I go through. So a very nice a very nice principle learnt in life is keep trying till you succeed. Keep trying, build up yourself, learn the small tricks of the trade, combine them up, couple them up to achieve your motto. I'm sure a lot of you there would have already achieved a lot in life. That was my story, and that was not all. I remember going on to appear, writing the test for joining the Air Force. I appeared for my written, and I cleared the Services Selection Board for Air Force as well. Gentlemen, the Services Selection Board is a full 1 week written test wherein they divide it into various segments, which includes the psychological, which includes the GTO, which includes the interview part of it. So a very structured written test, rather a structured entrance test, which is one of its kinds in the world, I should say. None of the other service in the world ever does so much of an intimate examination to hire, to take services of an officer, because very, very clear, it's not a service, it's a way of life. Gentlemen, on your screens, you find the cradle of leadership, which is the Chetwood Hall building in Dehradun. That building is the one which wherein you eventually get commissioned. You pass out, you can see the cadets standing on the drill square. The area in front of the building is the drill square. That's where the cadets are standing. That's where you march. That is an epitome of leadership. Going further, gentlemen, Sir Philip Chetwood, a field marshal, had coined the Chetwood motto long years back, which reads very, very proudly as the safety, honor, and welfare of your country comes first, always and every time. That's where you see the officers, the JCOs, and the Jawans giving their life for the country. And we are very, very fresh with that in our minds. The honor, welfare, and comfort of the menu command comes next. Your own ease, comfort, safety comes last, always and every time. Gentlemen, in the very fresh of those moods, you would have read what Colonel Ashutosh Sharma's wife told the press. She says the officer, the CO of 21RR, gave a call on the 1st of May. The wife asking the officer, when will you come? Stay safe from the corona, which is spreading very fast. The officer replied to the lady, to his wife, that do not worry. You look after yourself and the daughter. I have 1,500 men to look after. Gentlemen, that's the spirit, that's the conviction, that's everything which speaks once you don the uniform. Onto the next slide, gentlemen. An Indian military way back in 98. Another of the things, why? The question is why this officer gave his life. The question is why this major gave his life. The question is why this Jawan gave his life. Why did they give their life? They could have easily gone back. They were injured probably. They could have gone back to their place. They could have put a guard there on. They could have come back the next day morning. They could have applied something on their wounds. They could have nursed them up before they come in there. Gentlemen, Naam, Namak or Nishan are these three words which are ingrained into the blood of a person in the defense forces. Naam, Paltan ka naam. Naam, regiment ka naam. Namak is desh ka, namak is mitti ka, namak हम सब का, और निशान मेरा झंडा, मेरे देश का झंडा, मेरे पलटन के कलर्स, मेरी अपनी पहचान. सो नाम, नमक, निशान, इन तीन लफ्जों पे एक आर्मी का अधिकारी, आर्मी का जेसीओ या आर्मी का जवान अपनी जान देने के लिए तैयार रहता है. He is ready to sacrifice his life on these three words, Naam, Namak or Nishan. You would have again read about Colonel Ashutosh Sharma. It is as fresh in minds as if I have just read a moment back. He led the people from front. Just to tell you, gentlemen, RR battalions, the Rashtriya Rifle battalions, which are deployed in the state of J&K, are slightly large battalion. They have 2 additional companies compared to a normal infantry battalion. Almost 1,200 plus Jawans in each battalion. Almost about 30, 25, 28 officers in the RR battalion. The CO led from front. Why? Again, the answer is Naam, Namak or Nishan. Nishan mere desh ka, Nishan meri paltan ka. Jhanda mere desh ka, Jhanda meri paltan ka. Very, very proudly, each officer, each JCO and each Jawan lives to the fullest on these three words. A lot of questions are posed as to kyun, And that is the answer. I'm being very blunt, I'm being very frank, gentlemen. The moment I see the flag, I may have been out of the uniform for a decade plus now. But the moment I see the uniform, my goosebumps are up and I am alert. It is a case today, and I'm sure it was a case yesterday, and I'm sure this case will remain. It will always remain in this way. Going further, gentlemen, I would like to share a few of those nice pictures and some heroics of the Op Vijay, the Kargil War. Though the picture has nothing to do with Kargil War, picture is of the Indian Military Academy. In the center in the uniform is yours truly standing there. On to my right in the picture, the northeastern officer standing very proudly right next to me is late Captain Nikazaku Kenguruse, a dear course mate, a Mahavir Chakra posthumous of 2nd Rajputana Rifles. This guy was a dear friend, a great pal. We never knew that we were getting trained. He was my buddy. Never knew that we were getting trained together with a Mahavir Chakra, who in the future is going to be a Mahavir Chakra awardee. Gentlemen, he was not a normal person. He belonged to the Naga fighter tribe, came from a place nearby to Mokukchong in near Kohima in Nagaland, was a school teacher prior to joining army, a very sober and a very quiet gentleman. His heroics, gentlemen, are unmatchable. 2nd Raj Rifle was the battalion wherein he was serving. He was the Ghatak platoon commander at that point in time. This was a core reserve battalion. The moment the movement was detected in the month of May 1999, this battalion was in Gwalior. They were the reserve battalion. They were moving towards, or they were all infantry battalions, rather, infantry battalions, RT battalions, AD regiments, RT regiments, air defense regiments. They have a tenure, 2 years, 3 years, depending on the location. So this particular battalion was on the move to the Northern Command. They had, I think, not even reached there. They were still in Gwalior. This entire battalion was airlifted. And since Nibu, we used to call him with a lot of love and affection, we used to call him Nibu. He, along with his Ghatak platoon, was airlifted and sent straight away into the battlefield. This particular officer, for good about 7-8 days, was tasked upon an objective given, was at it, kept on fighting. He had a sizable platoon strength of some 28 guys. Slowly, one after another, the guys were getting injured. He did not leave the battlefield. He kept on nursing, kept on getting his team, kept on getting his Jawans evacuated. On the 28th of June, as you see the date on my screen, this guy was eventually very close to this particular target, the peak Black Rock. And can you beat it? This person had his ammunition. Yes, he had his shakar paras and he had his gud chana stock with him. At the final attack of capturing this particular target, this officer climbs up, fires at the Pakistanis. He is in clear vision of the Pakistanis. He drops to dead from his personal weapon. As he is climbing up, the steep becomes so steep that he is unable to climb up on his 2 feet. He slings the gun, slings the personal weapon, and starts climbing up on all fours. As he is climbing up, ladies and gentlemen, because of the snow, his shoes, they start slipping. He then takes off his set of shoes and he is bare feet and again climbing. He climbs up all the way. While he's climbing up, he's shot in the abdomen. He is still leading the charge with his people, with his boys, and he did not collapse. He had that josh, he had that will, he had that naam namak or nishan. He eventually climbed up. He eventually killed 7 Pakistanis. 5 he killed with his weapon. 2 he killed with his kukri. I hope you know the kukri, the dagger, the knife. He slit their throat, and there he lay lifeless after doing that. Ladies and gentlemen, for this very feat of his, which his Jawans later on narrated, the final capture of that peak, they they came back to the battalion, they narrated the incident, and gentlemen, that's Captain Nikezaku Kengaruse of 2nd Rajputana Rifles. You can see that's what he wrote, a final letter to his father stating that I may not be able to return home to be part of our family again. Even if I don't make it, do not grieve for me, because I've already decided to give my best for the nation. So I was fortunate enough to be trained with such brave, worthy, and worth remembering officers of the Indian Army. Going to the next gentleman, that's again the icy heights of J&K. You can see the Bofors gun. You can see yours truly again. That's again the off Vijay. That's again, in fact, very little pictures of that time, because we were not in the digital world. We used to be still on those cameras with the rolls on, the Kodak and the Konica cameras. So very few pictures, but yes, very fortunate to have served. They're part of the Bofors regiment. The stories go beyond the time limit. The stories can just go on and on and on and on. Going to the next gentleman, showing some few pictures of the Operation Parakram, which was launched by the Indian Army post the attack on the parliament in 2001. You can see that picture is of the desert, the Rajasthan deserts, where we spent a sizable time, though we could never attack the neighbors. But yes, a beautiful experience of mobilization, beautiful experience of training, complete training coming into play. You can see the soldier firing, gentlemen, in the next picture of Operation Parakram. We as the civilians, or rather we in the society, we feel that yes, Jawans are brave. Yes, he's brave. We feel that he doesn't fear. No, he fears more than anybody. He knows where this 7.62 bullet can hit. He knows that one bullet can take your life. He knows it very, very well. He has a fear more than anybody. But gentlemen, let me assure you, he is the best trained compared to anybody in the world. The training, the mental morale, the mental stature of the men in the Indian Army is unbeatable. In fact, I should say it's the best in the world. I was fortunate enough to be trained with a few cadets of the US Army, of the Palestinian Army, of the Sri Lankan Army, of the Bangladesh Army, of the Nepal Army in the Indian Military Academy. And I am true to myself when I tell you, the American cadets, the Palestinian cadets, the Sri Lankan cadets, they used to tell us that what training is happening here is inhumane. We are unable even to think what you people train like. So, ladies and gentlemen, the fear, the morale, the courage, the conviction, and Naam, Namak or Nishan doesn't go waste. Ladies and gentlemen, that is what is the true spirit, the blood of an Indian Army soldier, Indian Army officer. So I kind of finish the presentation. What I would wish is if we could interact more. What I would wish is we could speak more. I have my senior, Colonel Milind Gokte also. I can see his photograph. I can see him in the picture. How are you, sir? I can't hear you. You will have to unmute. You will have to unmute, sir.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. My apologies if I have spoken anything wrong, sir.
Not at all. Come on. It's a nice presentation, Chris. And about your kangaroos, it was good.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And
Ma-
from others.
Major Saab, couple of questions.
Yes, sir.
One of the question is how, as an Indian Army, do you keep people upbeat and keep the spirits high in terms of all adverse conditions? Because most of the conditions are unplanned and it comes suddenly on you. So how do you keep the spirits and the preparation on for all this type of adverse conditions?
I would. Can I answer in a very different way? The
Sure.
thing which is taught in the army, which is very clear in the mind, still very clear in the mind, is if you train well in peace, you bleed less in war. Very, 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 very clear. So you train, and train so that you bleed less during the war times. Very, very clear. And I think that should answer the question.
Sir, we also know that you participated and you operated the Bofors gun. Could you share that experiences of that Kargil war, which you actually had to go through?
I just showed you, I don't have any pictures, but yes, I remember when I had joined the regiment, I did not know which side is the barrel and which side is the back of the gun, because the Kargil war, the operations had already started, and we were sent without the basic training. But yes, I was already an engineer. I was already a trained technical person. I remember spending about 3 days with one of the instructors of the RT regiment. In our language, we call it as an EKIG. EKIG is instructor gunnery and assistant instructor gunnery, a JCO. He taught me about the gun. He taught me about the operation of the gun. He taught me about the repair of the gun as well to some extent. Later on, repair I learned from my boys of EME. We have a light repair workshop with the Bofors regiment. That's where I learned the basic repair from them. But first, I learned how to operate a gun. And I still remember one of the gunners, number one, had got injured. Now, a Bofors gun detachment has about 8 soldiers. So there is one NCO, a Havaldar. Then there are 2 Nayaks, and then balance are soldiers who are also known as gunners in the RT regiment. Now, one of these, once the detachment commander gets injured, the det is haywire. Like what has happened to the 21 RR battalion, the CO going off, the battalion is headless. So this particular det, which was one gun, I was operating with 3 guns. One gun, the gunner number one injured himself, and he and one more NCO had to be evacuated from the place. The others were already on their guns and busy firing. And yes, I went, became the gunner number one, started firing. I had already learned how to how it was fired upon. And yes, I had the first experience of firing a Bofors gun amidst all the tensions, amidst a lot of action. I can't explain the power you get when you press the firing pedal of the Bofors gun. It's out of the world experience. That's the only thing I can tell you. I hope I'm answering your questions.
I just wanted to butt in with a small query. Was Bofors the real difference? Did that actually make a huge impact on the war? I mean, that always intrigues me.
Bofors gun, in ideal conditions of the weather conditions, can fire to as far as 42 kilometers. Ideal. When I say ideal, temperature, wind direction, atmospheric pressure, and definitely what round are you firing? It fires about 9 different kinds of rounds. So now this particular weapon, the place we were firing was firing at an ideal location of about ideal distance of about 32-33 kilometers. And yes, the amount of voice this gun makes, the vibrations it gives, and the destruction it does is mind-boggling. It is said so, though I have never went towards my friend's territory. I never went inside there to see them. But what is said and what is heard of is when the round would fall in there, it would just ruble off the ground almost to the tune of about, one round falling is about 100 meters by 100 meters is completely ruble. So that is the power of this gun, and that is the strength of this gun. Yes, the gun created a lot of, it ruffled a lot of wrong feathers long time back when it was inducted in the Indian Army, when it was gotten into the country. But it is said, and yes, rightly so, it was a saving grace for the country at that point in time.
Uh, uh, for the benefit of all our participants, I would like to mention here that Major Saab was he got injured during this Kargil war also, and I think if I'm not wrong, his leg got dislocated. And thanks
That
to the
was, yes, yes. That was later. Yes, yes, yes.
so can you share that experience, the hospital, and how do you mentally recoup in all these situations?
Hospital was a was a long duration time, and yes, it was in fact slightly after that, but then all within the theater of operations, and yes, it went on for good about 1 year's time. But thanks to everything, the age was less, and I am on my feet, and I am up and about. I see a question about the various entries. Yes. So the first of the entries currently is the entry post the 12th standard. The first of the entries is the entry into the NDA, wherein you appear for the UPSC entrance. Once you clear the UPSC entrance, you get into the SSB mode, SSB Service Selection Board. We have three centers of SSB in the country, Bangalore, Bhopal, and Allahabad. That's where you appear for 5-6 day interview, and if you clear the interview, then you have 1 week full, 6 days of medical. That is the NDA entry. A very interesting entry after 12th is now 10+2, which makes you do engineering as well. So it is known as 10+2 TES, technical entry scheme. The army makes you do engineering, and you join the Indian Army as an engineer. Everything is being done in different places of different centers of the Indian Army. That is another. And the third being definitely post your graduation. So once you are a graduate, you can straight away, again, the UPSC and the SSB doesn't change. That remains the same. But the academy where you go in changes. So if you get into a permanent commission, if you apply for a permanent commission, and if you write that exam, you go to the Indian Military Academy. Else you go to the Officers Training Academy, which is a short service commission. So short service commission, which was erstwhile 5 years, now is mandated to be 10 years of minimum course. And yes, it is definitely an interesting thing. Yes, I would also want Colonel Milind to share a quick introduction. I will give Colonel Milind Gupte for, he is a signaler, and the most of the interesting times he spent is he was also a Black Hat commando. And I was infatuated looking at him. I was a young boy while he was already an officer in the Indian Army, very much from Baroda, very much a pass out of MSU. Sir, why don't you please contribute? Colonel Gokte.
Sir, you'll have to unmute your mic. Milind sir, you'll have to unmute your mic.
Oh yeah, am I audible?
Yes,
Yeah.
you are.
Okay, I am a MSc pass out. Did my schooling in Maharani Chimnawai High School. I'm an MSc Applied Physics. And like Mayank, I also tried after my BSc twice. Couldn't get through. Finally, after my MSc, I got into something called Technical Graduate Course, wherein you are excused, you are exempt from writing an exam. You are directly called for an interview. So, I went for the interview and got selected. Almost 30 years I was there. I joined in 88, came back to Baroda in 2018, and 30 years I was in the Corps of Signals. One stint with the Black Cat Commandos. Our unit was specifically and specially trained to carry out counter hijack operations. It's not an anti-hijack operation, it's a counter hijack operation, wherein you come into picture once the hijack takes place. So we were trained, and probably this is one of its kind in the entire world, which is exclusively trained for counter hijack operations in those times. That was in 95 to 98. Then I also had a stint with the Assam Rifles, which is the oldest paramilitary force, about 185 years old. And as the name suggests, it functions in the Seven Sisters of the Northeast. So I commanded a unit there, and lots of wonderful memories. I also had a stint in Uri in 93, 94, 95, that period. I was handling the communications in the Uri belt. Operation Parakram, as Mayank mentioned, I was in the Jaisalmer sector. We were somewhere around that area looking for an opportunity to do whatever we were expected to do. But ultimately, the international pressures stopped us from doing that. Anyway, that's a long story. Today is Mayank. So some other time we will talk about my experiences. And yes, the Black Cat Commandos was something very entirely different. I mean, that was the time 95 to 98 period. Uh, if any of you, I mean, most of you must have seen the movies called Die Hard, the first one, or the Executive Decision. Now, Executive Decision, that movie, or Die Hard, those kind of weapons we've handled, and they were very much part of us. Then the Akshardham happened in Ahmedabad, then 26/11 in Mumbai. We had only one opportunity in Kandahar, that is in 99. That too, again, political pressure, and we could not take on. Otherwise, our unit was there in Kandahar. Of course, I was already out of the unit, but I was very much in touch with them. And I mean, we were trained to take on anything. I mean, NSG is an entirely different ball game, wherein it's like that you are handling a terrorist who is equally well trained, well motivated, well equipped. So how much accuracy you fire with and at what matters. Either you are there or he's there. So our training was about 95% accuracy during NSG times. The kind of practice and the kind of training that we got during those 3 years is, again, the IMA, as Major Mayank said, that IMA prepares us to take on anything and everything. Over to you, Mayank.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for being there. In fact, one of the early times I saw him and was infatuated to be answering in one word.
No, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I am there. If there are some questions, I would be very proud to answer whatever little I can.
Major,
I
just
am
one more
Ranjit.
question.
Hanji, sir.
I would
Yes,
like to share one experience.
Sure, sir.
My daughter was studying in a school in Mumbai.
Sir.
So on the annual day, we went there. What a voice, nice.
Your mic is on. Am I audible?
Hello.
Sir, your mic is on.
Yeah.
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 I think better now.
So the chief guest was a general. So how he was inspiring the students. They say,
Yes,
you
sir.
want to have a car, right? The best car you can get in the army is the Arjun tank. You want to have a costliest fight the ever Boeing has done or anybody has done, you ride a MiG or now the Rafale. You want to have a ship ride, whether to go to somewhere else, you ride INS Virat or Vikramaditya. So this is how he inspired the young minds to join the army or navy or air force. I,
Sir.
being a son of a soldier, stay in the army welfare complex in Salt Lake in Kolkata.
Sir.
Always feel that many parents are there. They have lost their husbands. Many Parents are there, they have lost their children. And whenever such a situation happens in the country, the army men fighting against the enemy, tears roll down from their eyes. Even the day before yesterday, we organized that lighting of candles in our society. Though I am in Bharuch, in Calcutta,
Yes,
in Gujarat, I
sure,
joined them through my laptop and joined
sure.
the program. So the motivation of the joining the forces is different, but still I feel the government need to motivate more people to join so that good brains should come. Now, only a section of the country, say in Haryana, Punjab, or some part of Uttar Pradesh and Bihar, they are joining the forces. But I think entire country should come forward. We are passing through a situation that where we need to protect our country from outside forces as well as inside forces. Now you see during this COVID-19, government has given the lockdown to be followed. People are not following it. At this point of time, everyone, every man should work as an army man to restrict others because they are the enemy of the country. They are going against the wishes of the country. So this is what I need to say. Thank you very much, Mayank sir. Lovely
Thank you, sir.
interaction.
Thanks for your points, sir. Although this is not, I cannot be doing anything of that nature since I am not a politician, neither I am a policy maker. But yes, the best brains should be there in the uniform forces. The best of the people from the society, the best of the boys and the girls should be donning the uniform to make it more stronger, to make it everlasting, because things are not easing up in the times to come. Things are only becoming more complex. The wars are becoming, they are converting into Star Wars. We don't have the land battle anymore. It's going to be an air warfare in the times to come. A lot of technology is coming up. A lot of technology will come up in the times to come. It's already come up. So we need the best of the brains. We need the best of the people to be joining in, to be becoming part of the armed forces. For sure, sir. For sure. I take your word. I only hope that the general who came to the school could motivate a few people to be joining the armed forces. Yeah, Dr. Sheetal, do let us know when are we supposed to be.
I
Uh,
I actually have a query. I mean, if I may, Mayank
yes,
sir.
sir. Please, please.
So we hear a lot about the US-Mexico wall coming up, and we hear a lot about the Indian government also putting up the fence, and a lot of places the fences are not there. Do you,
Yes.
as a person who served in the forces, feel that if at all the government of India invests a bit more into the fencing part, will the casualties go down, the insurgency go down? What exactly is the, you have the right perspective to answer this
Yes,
question.
Dr. Sheetal, the thing has to be understood. We have two types of border. In fact, unfortunately, in being from the defense forces, we only have one enemy which is being taught to us. Yes, to some extent, China also, but we only have one enemy towards our western and northern frontier. Now we have two types of borders. We from Gujarat to Rajasthan to Punjab, all the way till the south of Akhnur, we have the international border. International border is a demarcated line which is accepted throughout, which is accepted by the United Nations, and it forms a clear demarcation line wherein we have a nicely barbed wired fencing land from both sides of the countries, us and the enemy on the other side. The moment you cross that and you get onto the Akhnur sector and further north, going all the way till Siachen, Aksai Chin, and almost till that region, we have something known as line of control. Now, line of control, we say the other side is ours, our enemy says this side is ours. So it lasts since what? Since 47. It has remained as a disputed place. We say it's ours, they say it's theirs. With the result, we have not been we have not been able to demarcate, neither we have been able to put anything proper there, because if the enemy comes and does something, we fire upon. If we do something, the enemy fires upon. So it has remained that way. At places, it is also line of actual control. Certain posts, the enemy takes over at times, certain posts we take over at times. It is a line of actual control which is very, very dynamic in nature. If you ever plan to visit some places, although you have to take some specific permission from the army and the BSF there, in the locations of line of control, uh, it is completely inhabitable. It is completely inhumane. Even if you have a physical chain, you cannot avoid, or you cannot stand there at all, because it is full of dense jungles. It has the rivers, the nalas, and completely inhospitable terrain in that part of the country. With the result, the border at places is porous. That's how we have the infiltration. That's how we have the in and out of these militants who are trained in POK. That's what we hear. That's what we read in the newspaper. So probably wiring, probably putting something of that nature may not be the effective solution. With the blood hot and with the boiling blood, the only solution is to take over Gilgit and Skardu, which is part of the POK at the moment. Grab it back is the only solution. Else, the enemy will not sit comfortable. We are living in pandemic times. You can see the continuous activity which is still on from the enemy's side. They are not at rest. So the army obviously is not at rest either. So that is what it has to be. Otherwise, there is no respite. We have spent 70 years. We may spend 100 more. It'll remain like this. So I have only one solution: to just wade through into the POK, which is not easy. But yes, that's the only solution I see. I hope I'm able to answer your question.
Thank you. Thank you. You have. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Major Mathur is open to questions if at all there are any.
What is a typical day of an army person in Jammu and Kashmir? Because now things have changed, but what was it earlier? And with the terrorists around, not the army, not the military side, but the terrorists around, how do you handle them? I mean, it must be quite frightening. You don't know; they are always in disguise.
No, they are not in disguise. How do you differentiate between the local there and a militant? Because they don't wear any other uniform. They look same. And in fact, past almost 10, 12 years, the militants are not Pakistanis. They are Indian boys who cross over the other side, get trained, and come back again. So they look absolutely like our own population. And very difficult. But then if you ask me what is a typical day off, if you are there in J&K, if you're there in the counter-insurgency operations, like you have two different, basic two different types of operations there. So one is you are on the IB, other is you are in the counter-insurgency operations. So if you are in the CI ops, if you are in the counter-insurgency operations, your typical day is morning briefing, you go out for a domination patrol, you come back, in the second half, you either rest in the night, or if you have rested in the day, you go out for a night ambush. You go, you get some intelligence, you create your own intelligence network. You also get intelligence from your higher headquarters. If there is intelligence from the infantry perspective, you go in search, you go in neutralization of those militants or the anti-national elements. In case there is any other information, then you go and do that kind of work. So it is pure bred action. You are ready at all points of time. You have your arm, you have your ammunition with you on person, and you are at all points of time ready for action. Whether you are an infantry soldier, whether you are in RT, whether you are in EME, whether you are in signals, whether you are in any corps, because the militant doesn't distinguish. The militant doesn't distinguish that he's from this corps, he's from that regiment. No, for him, a person wearing the uniform has to be disturbed, has to be injured, has to be killed. That's his target, that's his agenda. So you are ready. And as I just mentioned a while back, you are, if you are not outside, if you are not on a patrol, if you are not in an ambush, certain units have got small arm ranges, you are firing. You are firing at all points of time for practicing. Rather, you are practicing to fire.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Major Saab. Thank you, one and everyone, for attending this session. We at IIM Ahmedabad Alumni Association Vadodara chapter shall be conducting such sessions in the future too. If at all anyone wants to share with us, or if at all someone is interested, you can get in touch with me or Mayank sir. The contact details are dropped in the chat box. You can connect with us. And thank you, Mayank sir, once again. It was lovely to have you here. Great
Thank you
stories.
so much.
And amazing to hear about the way the men in uniform function for us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, to be there, to be listening to us. And you're most welcome. I'm very much Vadodara based, very much available. This new normal has, put me down, pinned me down into my house in Baroda. And very much there. You're most welcome to interact. I have just put in my number therein. Anything, anytime. You're most welcome. And I end with one war cry. I end with one thing. Bharat Mata ki Jai. Jai Hind.
Jai.
Vande Mataram.
Vande Mataram.
Hi, Mayank.